Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Let us know where you've seen it in the comments down below. But for now, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, welcome to Ask the Camera Guy. My name is Steven the Camera Guy, and today we're going to be answering the question, when should you start charging for your photos? When it comes to starting a photography business, I think the best thing to know is when you're ready to actually go pro. Now, going professional just means that you're making money for your photography. I used to think it meant that you were somehow the best at what you did. That's not what it means. It just means that you make money for your photography. And the one question that you should ask yourself is, when am I ready to start charging for this art, for this, what I produce in terms of photography? Here's a checklist that you can use for things that you should do before you actually start charging for your photography. Number one, practice. First thing anybody needs to get good at anything is practice. And practice is not just so that you could get great, practice is also so that you could get familiar. Photography has a lot to do with technique, has a lot to do with understanding the subject matter, understanding exactly how you're going to approach things. And whereas you could have a lot of techniques in your head or a lot of theories, it's only when you get out there and you understand how to use the camera could you really perfect some of the techniques that you would have learned, especially from like YouTube videos or other places or books or whatever. You need to practice as much as possible. One tip that I have when dealing with practice is to go out and actually shoot actual events and actual things. If there's a wedding that's happening, your cousin is having a wedding, even if they have a professional photographer, what you could do is liaise with that photographer and say, hey, look, I'm just out here taking a few pictures, don't let me get in your way. Respect that the person is there doing their job, but also try to see if you could get a couple events. Do like a little birthday party for, your niece, your nephew, or whatever the case is, but just get to events, shoot actual people, practice the craft. Number two, master every single shooting situation that you could possibly think of. Master shooting in the middle of the day, master shooting in the middle of the night, master shooting in the afternoon, in the morning, in the daytime, indoors, outdoors. As much as possible, every single scenario that you think you'll find yourself in, try to understand how you would approach it. Have an idea how to approach it. Practice approaching it. This is where practice comes in, but practice with a specific mode. It's not just pick up the camera and shoot an event, but pick up a camera and go out and practice shooting in specific scenarios. Because a lot of the times, you might be good at shooting in the night, but shooting in the day is a problem for you. You don't want to be a professional and you can't shoot daytime photos, but you also can't be a professional and can't shoot indoor photos. So master your craft, master your techniques for shooting in different lighting situations so that you can maintain some level of consistency, which brings us to number three. Be consistent. Before you could charge anybody a cent, be as consistent as possible. If you're going to be able to shoot this shot, you must be able to replicate that shot. So practice, time, experience, you gain an understanding of how to navigate so that you can reproduce certain shots and certain styles that you would have developed. So the third thing is always, before you start charging money, be consistent. Be as consistent as possible. Number four, make sure you could take pictures without having to edit them. And I know this sounds weird. A lot of people be like, Steven, come on, editing is like half the process. Yes, I understand that. I do believe editing is half the process. But I do believe a lot of the times that we force great pictures out of bad situations, and sometimes that gets us into the attitude of not shooting well. If you want to be a photographer, you have to be able to shoot well. And one of the ways to shoot well is what I call no editing. Just be able to shoot a shot and it looks good from the get-go. When you could perfect that craft and you don't have to fix anything, then you start getting to the point of, okay, I could take a shot that looks great, or I could take a shot that looks good and make it great, versus I could take mediocre photography and try to fix them in Photoshop. Now, the reason I'm gonna tell you this, especially if you're gonna get into a professional, if you're gonna be professional about your photography, is that you're gonna save yourself a lot of time when you have a good shot or you practice taking good shots off the block. Like from the time you take the picture, it's already great, it's already good, it's already usable. It's gonna save you a lot of time in Photoshop, it's gonna save you a lot of time. If you have 6 clients in 1 week, you don't wanna be spending 1 week and each photo shoot. It's gonna take up a lot of time, it's gonna make you very inefficient. So practice taking shots great without editing. Number 5. Now this is one of the most important things you have to master before you start charging any money. Communication. Most of what you do as a business person is really communicate. Like, you would think that, hey, when you get into a photography business, you're gonna be taking photographs all the time. I guarantee you, you will not be taking photographs all the time. But one thing you're gonna be doing a lot is you're gonna have to interact with actual people. Now, there's some introverts out there and some people who are maybe not so good at being charismatic and so on. You don't have to be charismatic. You just have to be effective at communicating. You have to be able to present a concept, present an idea, and have people understand exactly where you're coming from and what you're saying. That is very, very, extremely important. If you can't master the art of photography, at least master the art of communicating with people so that you could understand what they're trying to get you to do. Now, communication doesn't just happen between you and your client, it happens between you and if you're working along or collaborating with another artist, if you're collaborating with a makeup person or somebody who's going to be a support role, or even if you're going to be communicating on a shoot with other photographers, you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to communicate effectively. And I have a tip. If you're not, just out the block naturally gifted at talking or gifted at communicating, there are YouTube videos that could teach you talking points that you could get your point across and teach you how to layer your arguments or layer how you feel or layer what you're trying to do so that you can make consistent, logical points. There's no rule that because you're not charismatic from birth, it doesn't mean that you can't be a good communicator. In fact, most of the good communicators I know wouldn't say that they're charismatic. They would just be like, well, Stephen, just talk to you. So again, practice communicating. This is gonna be the most useful tool for you getting work. It's also gonna be the most useful tool for you correcting problems and collaborating with other artists. Number 6, before you start charging for anything, understand who you wanna take pictures for and what you wanna take pictures of. And I know this sounds weird because most of the time you as a photographer, when you start out, you wanna take pictures of everything. And whereas when it comes to practice, I'm gonna say take pictures of everything that you possibly could take pictures of to find what you love. But before you go into business, try to find out who you want to take pictures for and what you want to take pictures of. You could change your mind during, after, what the case is. But before you start, understand exactly who you want to tag. When you first start off, you tend to want to practice everything, but you want to understand who you're going to be targeting when you start promoting yourself as a professional. If you want to be a wedding photographer, that's fine. If you want to be a landscape photographer, that's also fine. But when you have a target and you have a specific focus to mind, you could economize and make the best use of your investments when you're starting to invest in equipment or you're starting to invest in even where you're going to work from, all right? If you're a landscape photographer, some of the equipment that you're gonna have are gonna be different if you're gonna go into full-on wedding photography. And by the way, just a side note, wedding photographers tend to have to learn everything. I think wedding photography is one of the most difficult types of photography because wedding photography spans everything from macro photography, landscape, portraiture, headshots, event, even down to decor photography, like still life. Everything is within weddings, everything is within weddings. And I think wedding photography is something that you should probably work your way into versus just starting off as a wedding photographer. Wedding photographers have to be excellent communicators. Wedding photographers have to know how to solve problems because no wedding is perfect, I'm telling you. There's none that I've ever been to that have just been perfect. There's always been a problem that needed solving. Wedding photographers have to be able to basically re-engineer the way they do things on site. So wedding photography is actually one of the toughest types of photography. If you want to start by getting into portraiture, portraiture is a little bit easier. You don't have to go into still life, you don't have to do a lot of other things. But portrait, if you're going to be a portrait photographer, the equipment that you would buy or the things that you would invest in, the time that you would invest in and the training you would invest in would be different to if you were going to be a landscape photographer. Landscape photographers tend to spend a lot more time basically making 1 or 2 images versus a portrait photographer who might be focused on making 20 to 50 images. It's just a difference. Landscape photographers usually have a lot of layering, a lot of editing. Again, the skill set is just a little bit different. So work out what you want to do, where you want to go. If you want to be an event photographer, that's fine. I think events are a wonderful way to learn a lot of photography, a lot of different styles, a lot of different techniques, without the pressure of having to deliver a specific image. That's one trick. An event photographer could find something that looks cool and that works, right? But if you're gonna be shooting a wedding and you miss the first kiss, that might not fly as well. So guys, again, figure out who you wanna do it for and what you wanna do. and then go for it. If you change your mind later, you could always rebrand yourself. You'll not lose the techniques that you've learned, you'll only add to them. Portrait photographers make excellent landscape photographers, and sometimes landscape photographers make excellent portrait photographers. It's just a skill set. You choose which you're gonna use, you choose what you're gonna do. Now, this is by far not a complete list. This is only the start. We'll probably revisit this list later on and expound on it. Even we might add some more checklist items that you could use to develop yourself and know when you're ready to start charging money. But for now, I'm gonna say, guys, keep shooting. As usual, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more from Ask the Camera Guy. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop a comment down below. We're trying to answer people's questions. If you want to, you could check us out at bluetorchproductions.com. You could drop a comment there. If you want, you could leave any feedback whatsoever that you want on that through that platform. Or you could check us out on Facebook, which we are Blue Torch Productions, Torch, Torch Productions with an S. And you could drop a line there, you could send us a message, you could talk to us. We invite all communications to our show, all right? And as usual, peace, no gang signs. Secret confession, I go to church to see my friends.